Mr. and Mrs. North, starring Barbara Britton and Richard Denning.
I'm eating.
Bonjour and hello, Thurston.
Be careful you do not take a bite out of the telephone. Not only would you find it low in vitamins, but...
What do you want, Newcastle? My coffee's getting cold.
You're in your usual good mood this morning. Good.
I'm giving a little gathering in my studio around 6 this evening. It's a preview of my newest painting of Sylvia.
You will come?
Very well, Picasso. I'll be there. Gwen.
I'm awake. How can anybody sleep with you clumping around?
I'm sorry, but it's quite late, and I wanted to talk with you before I left.
What's the matter?
Nothing really, only, well, Picasso called, and I told him we'd be at his studio at 6.
What for?
He's showing his latest portrait of Sylvia.
Sylvia. So that's it.
Well, now, if you just let me
Glamorous
finish.
Sylvia, New York's most sought-after model. Are you still chasing her?
You know I'm not. Now, calm down.
Calm down. Do I have to remind you that your ex-wife, the glamorous Sylvia, has taken you for every dime you ever made?
You knew what you were getting into when you married me. I made no secret of the financial settlement made in my divorce from Sylvia.
Well, one thing I know. I'm not going to get dressed up in my pitiful rags so you can drag me around at a party in honor of Sylvia.
I bought you some new pitiful rags last week. And according to Picasso, this party isn't exactly in honor of Sylvia. Well, we'll discuss it later. Goodbye, dear.
Goodbye.
Dr. Martin's office. Dr. Martin speaking.
Marty, this is Gwen Thurston. Are you going to Picasso's party?
Why?
I thought maybe we might see each other there. Are you going?
Possibly, if I can rearrange my appointments.
You'll rearrange them. After all, Sylvia will be there.
That does it for today. You may change now, Sylvia.
All right, I was telling you about this man, remember?
Your New York boyfriend?
He said to me, Dollface, I never write letters to women. They save them and it can cost a guy a lot of dough later on. I always send telegrams, he said. They're much cheaper in the long run. I learned a lot from him.
I'll bet you did. Was that you, Jerry?
Right. Hello, darling.
Oh, will you get it, please, Jerry? My hand.
Oh, of course. Hello.
Hello.
I would like to speak to Mrs. North, please.
Oh, well, I'm sorry she's busy right now.
Who is this?
Well, I'm her husband. Who are you?
Ah, Mr. North.
I am Picasso. I would like for you and your wife to come to my studio this evening for cocktails.
And to view my new portrait of Sylvia.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you, but I'm sorry. I'm afraid we...
Who is it?
Picasso, your art instructor, wants us to come to some party or something.
Oh, wonderful. Tell him we'll come.
Hold the phone a minute, please. Pam, I am not going to any party. I have business to attend to, and there are millions of...
I don't believe you two have met. My husband, Miss Graham.
Hello, Mr. North.
Hello, Miss Graham.
Sylvia is one of Picasso's most famous models. She'll be at the party, too.
Well, that'll be nice. Excuse me. Hello, Mr. Picasso. Well, thanks again for the invitation, and we'll see you later then.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I accepted the invitation. We really should. Where's Miss Graham?
Oh, she had to go.
Oh. Pam, I must say I like this much better than the bowls of fruit and vases full of flowers.
Are you complimenting me on my improved technique or my choice of subject matter?
Well...
That's all right, dear. There's no loss looking at a beautiful woman.
Such an understanding wife.
And at Bucasso's party this afternoon, you may do all the looking you wish. In fact, all go to your heart's content. Just remember one thing.
What's that, dear?
I'm going to be looking at you very carefully, and don't you forget it.
Sure, the picture will probably be very beautiful.
Ah, my favorite pupil. Bonjour, hello, and greetings.
Thank you. I'd like you to know my husband, Mr. Bucasso.
How do you do? Have no fear, Mr. North. I will pour you a drink in just a moment.
Oh, but I...
Please, no apologies are necessary. Come, I want you to meet my friends. Louis. Mr. and Mrs. North, Dr. Louis Martin, the famous surgeon.
How do you do?
Glad to know you.
Where did you get these two, Bucasso? They look almost normal.
Alan Thurston. Once he was a very promising young writer. Now he's just a middle-aged commercial hack. Mr. and Mrs. North, Alan Thurston.
How do you do?
Bucasso is only truthful when the truth is an insult. Will you excuse me?
Gwen Thurston. Alan's second wife. A beautiful girl. Still rather dull when compared to her predecessor. Gwen, my lovely, Mr. and Mrs. North.
Oh.
How do you do?
You're pretty, Mr. North. Are you one of the wealthy Norths from Sands Point?
No, he's one of the poverty-stricken Norths from Greenwich Village, and he's married to me.
How dull.
Yes, isn't it?
Pam, isn't this someone we know over here? Well, I'm glad to see you here.
I was wondering when you were going to notice me.
Oh, I saw you the minute we came in. It was just that...
Oh, yes, we're both famous for our 20/20 vision. As a matter of fact, we were talking about it this morning, weren't we, dear?
Yes.
Now that you've met all these charming people, I can proceed with the business at hand. Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, if you please. We come now to a most important moment in the history of art. I have chosen to call it my Sylvia period. It is over, finished.
Just what is this, Emil? Are you amused, Alan? You're not much of a man now, but I can wipe out what little is left. Don't tempt me.
Oh, now, is this really necessary after all?
Sylvia, leave him alone. Haven't you done enough to the poor guy?
It's nice of you to feel sorry for him, Doctor, but I have the impression that you were beginning to feel sorry for yourself.
Well, Mr. Picasso, if you'll excuse us, we'll be leaving now.
Oh, no, you cannot leave. No one must leave until I have unveiled my masterpiece. Sylvia, come, it's time. I'm paying you, darling. Remember?
Well, she showed you up for what you are, didn't she, dear?
Gwen, please.
No, don't you touch me.
Oh, if you'll excuse me, I must check with the hospital.
Oh, listen, darling, I can think of at least 40 places I'd rather be, and most of them are spelled H-O-M-E. Now, how about it?
H-O-M-E, home. Oh, Jerry, you don't want to go yet, do you?
Right now.
But we haven't seen the painting of Sylvia.
Well, then we'll just have to get along without seeing. Now, come on.
Oh, you are alone? Where are the Thurstons and Dr. Martin?
Oh, we thought they were with you.
Oh, I have not seen them. Come, everything is ready.
Oh, how did you hurt your hand, Mr. Thurston?
Oh, I broke her glass while mixing this. I guess I'm just clumsy.
Want me to have a look at it?
No, it's nothing really.
The moment is now. I, who was once a painter of true and living art, will become so again. With this painting you are about to see, I have purged myself. And I'm sure that the vitality which was once my especial genius shall emerge again. The blindness falls from my eyes, and I am free. And now, the original, the inspiration for this uninspired work.
Wow.
Amazing, no? All right, Sylvia. The comedy is over. All right, Sylvia, that's enough. What's the matter? Has she fainted? Is she all right?
She's dead. Garroted with a piece of picture wire.
Dead? Dead? What a perfect ending. Mr. North, you're a literary man, a publisher. Have you ever encountered a more fitting climax?
Excuse me.
Lieutenant Wigan, please. It's most urgent.
The medical examiner found a piece of picture wire wound tightly around her neck. Tightly enough to have been her death. However,
However, what?
the medical examiner says she was poisoned and that she was dead before the attempt was made to strangle her. Now, what do you two know about any possible motives or opportunity?
Oh, everything. And nothing.
I beg your pardon?
Well, Pam means, judging by the insults exchanged earlier this evening, none of this crew is going to weep for Sylvia.
And everyone had some opportunity to poison her or strangle her or whatever.
Oh, that's great. Well, who would you say had the best opportunity?
Bucasso, I suppose. But there's...
Right. I'll start with him.
Excuse me.
Sure. Mr. Bucasso, about these materials you're using here.
Yes, yes.
Are any of them poisonous?
No doubt they are to a greater or lesser degree. However, one does not eat this, Inspector. One paints with it like this. Please, would you mind stepping back? I do not wish to splash paint on that rather depressing-looking suit.
What? Now, look, Bucasso, I want you to answer some questions.
When I have finished with this painting, not before.
I see, and that'll be?
An hour, a week, a year, who can tell?
I can. On a hand.
Yes, Lieutenant.
Take this man down to headquarters and hold him for interrogation, then report back. If he gives you any trouble, throw him in the tank with the drunks.
Barbarian.
Are the others like him?
Oh, some are even more obnoxious.
Well, let's go.
Bill, there's one thing I'd like...
Later, Pam.
Lieutenant.
Yes?
I know you want to question me, and I'm most willing to cooperate. But I have a patient in the hospital, and I should be there now.
All right, Dr. Martin, you can go.
Thank you.
Yes, you can all go, but don't disappear. I'll want to see you later.
I have some theories, Bill.
I'm sure you have.
Well, after all, Sylvia worked for me, and my theories are very sound. Now, I don't think Bucasso's guilty. In fact,
Save it, Pam. Bill gets paid for theories. You don't.
Very well, I'm leaving.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
Now, let her go, Jerry.
But
Now, let's give her a chance to cool off. I don't think Bucasso's guilty either, but the other three don't have to know that. They'll be watched. I want to know what they're going to do next.
So what do you figure?
Well, the medical examiner checked Dr. Martin's bag for me. One vial had been emptied. Perhaps it contained the poison that killed Sylvia Graham. We're going to find that out.
I see. Well, what about the others?
Mrs. Thurston? I don't know. But her husband cut his hand, and he says it was on a broken glass.
So?
So there was something which looked like blood on the free ends of that picture wire. Now, it wasn't Miss Graham's. Maybe it's Thurston's. We'll know when the lab reports on a comparative blood test.
Okay, what now?
Let's see if Pam's still around. I'll soothe her ruffled feelings, then I'll give you a lift home, huh?
Okay.
Excuse me, I got to use the phone.
Yeah.
Jerry. Jerry, come on.
Put that down.
Why, Dr. Martin, what are you doing here?
That's a very good question. It's the same one I was about to ask you.
Oh, I was just bringing back poor Sylvia's things, and I noticed these letters scattered around as though someone was searching them. It was you, wasn't it?
A brilliant deduction. Now, just give me that letter.
Why? What do you want with it?
Destroy it. If it's the one I've been looking for. Mrs. North, I was in love with Sylvia. Madly in love. I wrote some incriminating letters.
How incriminating?
I recently sent a letter, one which could prove very damaging in view of what's happened. You have it, and I need it.
I think we'd better let the police decide about that, Dr. Martin. I can't...
Mrs. North, let's dispense with the formalities. Just give me the letter.
But I need it if it proves a theory I have.
I said, give me that letter.
No!
This is as far as you go,
Jerry,
Doctor.
am I glad to see you?
Nice work, Monahan. Say, what were you doing here?
I tried to tell you, but you wouldn't let me. Sylvia was always feeding me bits of her philosophy when she modeled for me. One of the big things in her life was getting and saving letters from her boyfriends.
I must have been out of my mind when I wrote that.
Well, there are worse things than writing incriminating letters, Doctor. For example, committing a murder. Take him downtown, hold him on suspicion, and keep him under 24-hour guard.
Right, Lieutenant.
Well, most of the returns are in, but I'd still like to hear from the outlying precincts.
The Thurstons?
Yeah, the Thurstons.
Hello? What? Oh, that's terrible.
Well, he'd been acting strangely all day, but, well, I still can't believe it. He killed Sylvia, and then he couldn't face it. He left a note confessing everything. What shall I do? What can I do?
Don't do anything. Don't touch anything. I'll call Lieutenant Wigan, and we'll be right over.
Who's on the phone, darling?
Gwen Thurston. Her husband, he's taken poison. He's dead. I told her I'd call Bill Wigan.
Was this the way you found him, Mrs. Thurston?
Yes.
And you say you hadn't touched him or touched anything else in this room since then?
Just the telephone.
Well, it seems clear enough. He confesses to the murder of Sylvia Graham and says he's going to take his own life for the same poison, a poison he says he stole from Dr. Martin. You know, there's only one thing I don't quite understand, Mrs. Thurston.
Yes.
Now, you said you hadn't touched anything in this room except that phone, right?
That's right.
Then how'd you know so much about your husband's suicide note when you phoned Mrs. North? The note was completely hidden by his body.
Well, I must have forgotten what I did. The shock.
Sure you aren't forgetting something else? Like writing that note? Well, just to be sure, I think we better go downtown and talk this all over.
You're arresting me?
No, not unless I have to.
No. I can't go anywhere dressed like this.
Well, no, I guess you can't. You can change in there, as long as you keep the door open.
And what does the accused murderess wear this season?
Gwen, Lieutenant Wygant hasn't accused you of anything.
Then he only wants the door open because he's a peeping Tom.
Excuse me. Wygant speaking. Send a medical examiner to 1479 Haven Street. Apartment 802. Right. It's a homicide.
I can tell you're not married if you think she should be dressed by now.
I'll go and see what's keeping her if you like. Bill, Jerry, she's gone.
Mrs. Thurston, come back here. Come back here. You'll never make it around that corner. This wind will whip you off this ledge like a rag doll.
Watch your step, Bill.
Right.
Bill, Jerry, be careful.
Mrs. Thurston. I'm going to put my hand over yours now. All right? Now we're going back. Slowly, slowly. I've got you. You're safe.
I killed Sylvia. And I don't want to be safe in the electric chair.
It's going to be all right. Easy.
I hated her. I hated her. She took little Martin from me and
We've almost got it made, Mrs. Thurston. Almost. You hang on here while I get anchored inside.
You arrested Dr. Martin for Sylvia's murder. I had to kill Alan and write that note.
Oh, she's fainted. Maybe if I could find her a drink of something.
If you can, make it 3, Pam.
Yeah.
Hold still, Jerry, and I'll paint you. Hold still now.
Don't worry. I think I've frozen into this position.
Oh, you poor, sweet, patient thing.
Well, you said you were going to paint me. And I don't mind a bit.
Mr. and Mrs. North is directed by Lou Landers. Produced by John W. Loveton. A John W. Loveton production. Starring Barbara Britton and Richard Denning. Featuring Francis DeSales. This has been a film presentation.